So welcome back, folks. Welcome.
That's how we work, by the way.
Yeah, that is. Welcome, my beloved tribe. Welcome to a new show which you can watch exclusively on the WP Tonic YouTube channel. It's going to be called The Funnel Machine. I'm doing it with my friend Spencer Forum. It's going to be a collaboration. We're going to be discussing all things about building funnels on WordPress. What are the best technologies, the best plugins, the best methodologies? Every week we're going to be talking about a plugin, a methodology, whatever Spencer feels is the best thing to spend our time and giving you the best value. Plus, hopefully from next week and the following weeks, if you've got a particular funnel that you want Spencer and myself to give you some feedback and some advice on, you'll be able to submit that by going to Spencer's website. The links will be all in the supporting notes of this video. And like I say, we will be giving you some of our time for free and giving you a quick, what would you say, Spencer, what we're going to do if we get some people that are brave enough for us to have a look at their funnels?
I think it's fair. And by the way, we're experimenting with some of these things. So I'm playing with the screen and so forth because I'm trying to see what would be a good layout here. I'm going to stick with this. I think this will give us the best bang for the buck. What we're going to do with these is the reality that we talk about in the WP Tonic show. I talk about at WP Launchify, Launch Flows, the WP Launch Club, is that we're in a world where there's plenty of tools. In fact, too many tools. But many people feel intimidated, whether you're a professional WordPress designer or implementer or agency, that you have to glomp on to doing something an old-fashioned way because you're concerned about the new ways of doing it. And even though it's not necessarily the only way, we're going to spend a lot of time showing how you can use the native WordPress, WooCommerce, Gutenberg blocks, things that are not necessarily committing to the ways they were done in the past. Because I think for a lot of us, we're seeing benefits. So in some of the shows and some of the things we'll do, maybe we'll talk about a page builder, maybe we'll talk about a particular plugin, but we're going to show you the modern ways to achieve things. And in many cases, those are going to be native. And the final benefit is that there will be an emphasis on trying to show for yourself or your clients how you can deliver the same results or better from something like a ClickFunnels, but do it on WordPress, which then connects you into the marketing automation capability and all the other things that are working in the WordPress level.
So Spencer, how much is ClickFunnels, the version that you really, I think it's like
$300 a month, and that's $3,600 a year, and that is essentially per website. So they've got an amazing business, but to be honest, if you were to look at it from your standpoint and your client standpoint, it's basically a multi-level marketing type of a thing. You are talking about replacing the CMS of WordPress that you own, control, can choose anything, and being locked into their platform, which, by the way, I'm a huge fan of Russell Brunson. As a marketer, he is on his own planet. However, ClickFunnels as software is just a fraction of the capability you can do natively in WordPress. So I'm saying if you're a fan of Russell Brunson marketing or Dan Kennedy or any of the other, people that are famous for marketing, and that's my main expertise all these years, awesome. Follow everything they say. I'm saying I'm going to show you how to do that with WordPress. And that way you and your clients can own and control it, and you don't have to have this $3,600 a year baseline, which, by the way, the other part is in the WordPress ecosystem, whether it's your company, my company, or anyone else, there are professionals who can actually help you. Whereas I think it's fair to say in the ClickFunnels environment, there are people that will help you, but everything has an extra zero on the end of it because everybody's got two gold records, and it's undeniable that people sell things with their products, but they would be selling those things with their products using this system as well. Because the marketing is the marketing, the mechanics are the mechanics.
Yeah, I'm really excited to do the show with you, Spencer. You're a great communicator, great entrepreneur, and this is really aimed at those that are looking to do it themselves, or agencies, freelancers, implementers,
Right.
This is going to be useful to a very broad audience. Some people will want to do it themselves. A lot of people will want somebody in the WordPress ecosystem to do it for them. If you're one of those professionals, I think this is another great whole range of services and ways that you can offer value to your clientele. And I'm just pumped up to do the show with you, Spencer.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be a work in progress. I'm doing other sales funnel live things on the Facebook group that I run that are just daily little snippets. But what we're going to focus on today is an example of what I think is going to work well. We're going to try to take one example from the ClickFunnels world of things that are popular and show why you need it, talk about it a little bit, and then demonstrate how to execute it with some of the components that for an end user or an agency could be a bolt-on. And that's a big deal. I want to say this one time. I used to build houses for a living, and I had lots of skills, including, I was an attorney and I was a title insurance adjuster, and I knew even how to build stuff. I hired specialists. I hired a general contractor and a subcontractor. And the reason I did that was because that way I knew the professional thing from a person who spent every waking moment got it done. And what I'm doing in this year and beyond is I'm extending what I've done for the last 16 years of teaching people to do implementation, right? You're a person who likes to work with WordPress and a page builder, and you can make pretty things for a client. I'm showing you how, if you have those relationships, that I can bring you new customers who want to bolt on marketing automation, membership, LMS, and so forth, and do the sales funnel kind of things. But you don't have to learn how to do that or be the expert, because we can just essentially have a partnership where you do your thing, I do my thing, but the overall job costs bring you more money and more reciprocation.
Yeah, Spencer's got a great service called Launch Club, where it gives consultation, or he can help. He can give you further information and support about building these out. So where do we begin with this, Spencer?
So today we're going to do an example, and I did a full video on this, but I wanted to use this for today. So anybody who has seen any of the ClickFunnels, let's see if I can get lucky here. ClickFunnels, let's see if I can even pull it up. If I pull up ClickFunnels, they have this one style of modal window. And let's hope I don't trigger a whole series of events. But they have a lot of the, let's pause the video here too. They have a whole series of components that they offer in their software, including these buttons. And I did a video this week where one of the buttons was really nicely styled because it did a modal window. That is something that pops up over the top. So using my Launch Flows plugin, I basically put this on the free pattern library. So anybody can get this for free, what we're showing today. And this is built 100% with just core WordPress Gutenberg components. Some of them are third party, but there's no ClickFunnels, there's no fancy stuff. And even the funnel overlay itself is not a paid thing. This is done with primarily free stuff. So here's what it does. They have these offers, take call to action. And instead of focusing the form on the page, they put it in what's called a modal window. If you've never seen a modal window, this, my friends, is a modal window. A modal window is something that essentially, it typically will darken the background, and it will fly in or slide in or do whatever to show up to focus the attention on the window on the top. And I want you to notice that this is the most basic form of a modal window. This is a lead collection form, and you can use any number of plugins. Here I'm using Fluent Forms, but you can use any number of free forms, plugins, Contact Form 7. You can use paid products like Gravity Forms. I'm using Fluent Forms because this is just convenient and I like their product. But the important part is, what we're saying is, I need your email in order to give you something for free. That's typically called a lead magnet, which I think most people know about. But in a modal window, putting a lead magnet, you get greater conversion rates because people are focused on it, right? All of the distractions go away. And often I have to explain to people who are doing the funnels, either through my Launch Flows plugin or my consulting at WP Launchify, I say, imagine you go into like Times Square of New York and there's billboards flashing all over the place. You don't know what to concentrate on. Versus think about, like, literally if you go to Costco, you have only 2 ways you can get in, right? You go to the right and you can eat for free and go to the membership area, maybe use the bathroom. You go to the left, you have to show your membership card. And even more so, sometimes there's only one choice, one door. What you want is less choice. So by putting a singular form with only one thing to do, give me your email, you really focus people on the result. And when we give them the email, we typically then direct them to the thing that we're promising, right? So here, Russell was saying in his example, let's start creating your first funnel. And the message on the underlying button was, yes, I'm ready to build my first funnel. Please give me a free 30-day trial and the $8,745 gift. Now, when you click that in ClickFunnels, it took you immediately to a free checkout, except they do have a clever thing, which, by the way, you can see here too. They don't really give you anything for free, because what they do is they give you something that requires you to put your credit card in, which, by the way, is brilliant for them, but it's a little bit one of those like, oh, I get it. So here's an example of this. I put in my name, Bob at, blah, blah, blah. Now, when you do this, it will take you to something that will ask you for money. And so if you do that, you have to give a credit card. Here's the example, right? Start my free trial, but you give them all your information and then you realize, oh, I also have to give you the credit card. I want to explain to you that that is awesome for marketers, but for most people in the WordPress world, you don't need to ask for money. Instead, what I would do is give them something that's free, that's an example of your content, or it's an example of your interaction. And it doesn't really take time away from you, so you shouldn't do something that's personal in nature. But it gives them a flavor, because if you get them to give their email, then they will be inside of what we call your CRM, your customer relationship management tool. And I'm going to show that here. So we want to give them an attractive offer, modal window, focus them, hello, like a horse, look over here, get the email, and then deliver them to a page where they are given the thing that they were promised. And this could be either directly on the page or it could be sent via an email. Let's talk today about the mechanics, though. Okay, if you want questions, because I talked through that one. So if anything comes to mind, okay. So what we're doing here is it's using two components. It's using a custom button, which is done with Gutenberg blocks, and it's using a modal block for Gutenberg. I happen to be preferential to what's offered here by Kadence. So what we're going to do is show you two benefits. First of all, we're going to set up the underlying mechanics. So I've got a site here, which, by the way, it's worth mentioning, I'm running the Weglot translation plugin. So it's just a membership site that also sells gear, but you'll notice, like, somebody who comes along using the Weglot can just translate it into multi-language. I think this is an important point to note. This would apply to the call to action button and everything else. So this is a really, really super powerful plugin. It's free to try. I'm going to give them a little free pitch here. Weglot.com. It's try for free, and you can connect it as easily as I'm showing you here. So what I did on the back end of this is I put a couple components in. First of all, we're using, as I mentioned, Fluent Forms. You can use the pro version or you can use the free version. All we need is a simple form. I'm using the pro version because it gives me a few styling options and some other control. I created a simple form. And again, you can use Contact Form 7 or Gravity Forms. I created a simple form called New Lead Registration. And here I could have just used the standard button, but because I had the pro version, I was able to actually customize this button a little more and make it look with the colors in the background exactly as it should. Now, this isn't anything really super, difficult. It's just using their controls, right? What should it look like on the front? Maybe it's a little highlighted when I roll my mouse over. And then I was also able to customize the text. I used a little snippet of stuff here. Now, here's the neat thing. You don't have to start from scratch with this because this is an exportable JSON file. So I'm going to be giving you the JSON file. So if you use Fluent Forms, you could just import this form and everything is set up exactly as I'm showing in the demo, right? So that's a neat benefit. But basically, when somebody signs up for this, you can send them wherever you want. And in my case, I'm just sending them into my Fluent CRM so that I can keep track of them and basically follow up with automation. That's beyond the scope of today, but just understand that I'm not just taking emails in and then sending myself an email. I'm taking an email in and then I'm connecting it to the CRM. So now I have a database of all the people, and I'm also giving them tags and keeping track of where they came in from, right? Like this was from this particular sales page. So basic mechanism to sum up is a form on a particular page that's a sales offer that takes the person's email and adds them to my CRM for future marketing. This itself gives us a typical way of embedding it, right? So they use a shortcode here, Fluent Form ID. If you're using Gravity Forms or Contact Form 7, it's exactly the same. They just, here's the form you can embed with a shortcode. So the next thing is we need to create a sales page of some kind to put this on. Now, if you go to patterns.launchflows.com, you can literally copy this and save yourself all of the hassle, because as long as you're using the same components, it will work. So let's review the other components you want to have here. I'm using Kadence blocks. And again, you can use the free or the paid one. I'm using the paid one because that gives me some extra control. I'm using Kadence starter templates, although that's not essential to this point. It does give it the look and feel that matches exactly of our example. And that's really it. Nothing else here is essential to what I'm about to do. So now we create a page, and let's say we're making this into our sales page. There's lots of cool ways to make sales pages, but I can't tell people enough times. You know what the easiest way is? Just use one of the pre-made components that exist for you to choose from. So for example, here with the Kadence blocks, there are hundreds of really cool sales funnel kind of call to action pages. Or even better, I can go to the starter pack and I look at these and I'm like, oh, these are gorgeous, right? So even inside of the theme that I'm using, there's something that could be really useful for, let's say, a sales page, right? I could take an FAQ page and turn it into a sales page, or I could take a contact us or an about us. Whichever way you do it, don't struggle with trying to make the basic layout. Just use something that's awesome and gorgeous to begin with and watch. Now that it's in place, all we need to do is add our magical button. So what I've just done is I've imported that really cool layout, and let's pretend that I'm going to turn this into a sales page. We need to add the call to action button. So in order to do that, first thing is I'll go over here and I'll copy this pre-made pattern from what I've set up for you. And now here I've got our story, but let's just do something cool. Let's just add a new section in here. And sometimes I'll use this. So here's the row below. Let's add a row above, or insert above. I simply make the space and then I paste. And now what it's going to do is it puts in an exact model, but I need to make sure that the Fluent Form ID is the same one that I just set up. So let's just make sure that that's the right number. Remember, we head over here, the Fluent Forms. And my lead form is the same. It's number 3. So this should work just fine. Let's go ahead and publish it. And then let's preview the page, because like literally that should be all there is to that. So now what I've done, now what I would also recommend is like, let's remove the conflicting our story button, because I think that might be distracting. Remember how I said, don't give them too much, right? Give them one thing. So let's just delete that. And we can work on the copy in a second, but like now when we refresh, we've got a really simple, very similar to ClickFunnels, like here's something you need to know above the folds, blah, 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 and here's your call to action. And it's a modal. And now somebody knows what they're going to get, right? If they give their email, they'll be taken in, added to the CRM, dropped off to the page of the deliverable. So let's pause at this point and have a little conversation. I think it'd be useful, because otherwise it's me just jammering on.
Yeah, sure. So would you recommend when you're dealing Fluent, and I think we're probably going to be recommending, not solely, we'll be looking at some of the others, but we're great fans of Fluent CRM as well, aren't we?
Well, let's do this. Contact Form 7
I'm not a great fan. I'm not a great fan of Contact 7. To be quite
I'm
true.
going to explain the differences. Let's say Contact Form 7 has a huge download. If you're doing things professionally, they don't offer a premium version. So you do have to struggle with a lot of stuff. Of course, there's Gravity Forms, which is the old standby. And quite honestly, that's awesome and has a million things going for it. Let's just look at the price. If you look at the price, I mean, this has so many add-ons and stuff, but you're basically at $59 a year for one site. And if you want all the add-ons, it's a $159. Let's look at Fluent Forms. I think it's comparable in price. Pricing plan for Fluent Forms is it's interesting. It's about the same, but like $129 for 5 sites.
Am I correct in saying that the free version offers a lot of functionality in the free version of Fluent Forms? The paid version is great as well, offers even more, but in the free version, unlike some providers, and Gravity doesn't provide a free version, unlike some, and unlike Contact 7, by using the free one, when you're in a good position when you want to upgrade to the paid version of Fluent Forms, and their support is really good, and they're a very reputable company. So I think there's great benefits of looking at the free version, and when you're ready, upgrading it to the paid version.
I agree. Okay, so let's talk some business stuff, because I think this will be an interesting thing for us to weave in here, because I have a lot of insider knowledge, and also I've been around for a while on the consumer side of things. Carl Hancock and the team at Gravity Forms have been around forever. That product is super solid, has an enormous number of third-party add-ons. So paying for Gravity Forms is a good idea for anybody, because you'll inevitably run across a client. Fluent Forms is run by the WP Manage Ninja team with Shah Jahan Jewel, and they have Fluent SMTP, Fluent CRM. They're doing incredible things. And it's amazing how far they've come so fast. And so when I have a choice, my general rule of thumb is this: I'm not preferential to one over the other, but I would say if you're starting from scratch, or you're looking for something new and interesting, and you're otherwise compelled by the Fluent CRM and so forth, check out Fluent Forms. But that if you have a legacy client base, or you've already been using Gravity Forms, it's always great to have that in your toolkit.
Yeah, I agree. If you can afford both, I would purchase both if you can.
These are very utilitarian. So the final comment about free versus paid is that you can get really far with the free version of Fluent Forms, but then there's some things like this custom button and stuff where it just falls off the shelf, because you just don't obviously get that without.
I don't know if you agree with this, Spence. Unlike some other plugins, the free plugin is what I consider semi-crippleware. I don't think you could classify the Fluent Form free plugin as crippleware. It has. I think they found a really nice balance of providing some good value in the free version, but the paid version does add value on top. And I think that as a company, they're quite good in making that judgment call. Would you agree with that?
I would absolutely agree. So if you were going to start from scratch for free, I would definitely recommend, because I don't believe Gravity Forms has a free version. I think it's only the paid version. And Contact Form 7 is all free, but you really do have to do gymnastics to make some things happen. And some things you can't do at all. So starting with Fluent Forms free has gotten me a great distance in a lot of cases. But relatively speaking too, again, I think it was $59 or something for the first level of the paid version. So it's not, in the scheme of a web designer or even a one-time client, expensive by any means. I mean, for what you can do, let's think about the funnel and why we're doing funnels. Here's the thing I always have to use my hands for. Clients fail to realize that a sales funnel and funnel marketing and marketing automation is exactly the same in the digital world as the real world. When I was a kid, every shop had a fishbowl on the counter, and it had a sign that said, put your card in here to win a free prize. Or even at the Subway shop, it's like, put in your card and win a free sub this month, because that was the only way to know who came in to shop. And in the same way, if you're running a business and you are not asking people to give their emails so that you can track their behavior or to do other things to follow up marketing, you are literally letting all of the potential clients just pass through your fingertips.
Yep.
So I think to spend between 59 and 130 bucks on a plugin that's primary purpose is to gather those people is a worth it.
So I see that we've got two main groups here. We've got the DIY individual that will be looking at an individual one license website scenario, and then we've got our audience that the implementers, the freelancers, graphic designers, agencies. Now they're going to be looking at a multi-site license that will offer them the best value. So let's look at the professional market. So the implementer agency market. So if you buy, instead of ClickFunnels, you're buying a solution from Fluent. So you're buying Fluent Forms, you're buying Fluent CRM. The other thing that you need to provide your clients as a solution is you're going to have to find, and I want to see if you agree with this, Spencer, is you need to find a solution that sends the email out for the client.
Right.
And you don't want, if they're with something like WP Engine or they're with something like Kinsta, they won't be able to do that anyway as a hosting solution. If they're with one of what I consider the tier 2 hosting providers that don't specialize
but let's make it simpler than that. Let's just break it down. Let's do a list, because we've done this so many times. To talk about like this tool, which you need, let's say you're talking about the form plugin and you're talking about Kadence Pro, okay?
Oh yeah, and
the total stack of stuff you need is universal. That's one of the reasons why, with WP Launchify or the Launch Club, I tell people it's not the cost of ownership that's a problem, but let's just do a comparison. ClickFunnels, $300 a month, $3,600 a year, and that has nothing to do with getting professional help or support or anything. Like, they'll help you if the plugin's broken, but they're not going to literally help you. As far as the cost of ownership, you need, typically, in most cases, you've got, hosting is a red herring, because that's just $50 a month for something like Cloudways. You've got WooCommerce, free. WooCommerce subscriptions is $199 a year. You've got WP Fusion, Tip Maybe, or Fluent CRM, depending on which way you go. So that basically will cost you about $250 plus $199. So let's break them into two parts. WP Fusion is like $254, I think. Call it $250. I'm just rounding this off. Fluent CRM, or like an active campaign, etc. But like Fluent CRM, because you buy it one time, I believe is under $200. Let's just check that out. So that's what we were talking about here. Fluent CRM is, and this is without the pricing, of discounts and stuff. So single site, $129. And then you've got, let's say, Launch Flows is $50 a year. And then you've got, in this case, like, let's talk about the Pro add-on. So Fluent Forms is, I think we just talked about, is single site license, $59. And then let's say if we want Kadence Pro, which there's a package, which would give you everything I'm showing here. Like, and I'm not saying you can only do this in Kadence, but Kadence I love for their,
it's a great product.
So their product, the Kadence bundles, Essential Bundle, $129. It's got Kadence Blocks Theme Pro, so $129. So there we go. And let's do some quick math. We got essentially 50, 250, 500, 629, 679, 739, 839, 869, roughly. I'm just estimating this. $869 a year. So versus $3,600, and you own and control and can get support from 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 companies And I think that's important too, because if you put in a ticket on ClickFunnels, good luck. Like, you're one of 10 million people with a bunch of people who, is the plugin broken, or is the theme broken? Is the thing broken? No, we can't help you. Whereas with these types of situations, there's forums, there's groups, there's people that are passionate about it. There's a million people, not the least of which our own companies, that can help. So from a value perspective, whether it's for yourself or as a sandbox to show your clients, this stack is really amazing. But really getting back to the point, how many clients does your client need to make to pay for this cost of ownership, right? Like, they have a recurring cost of, say, under $1,000 a year for all the software versus $3,600, and then they've got basically whatever your one-time build-out costs are or your service costs, and that's always going to end up being less costly than ClickFunnels. I mean, it just usually is, because they don't just hand you a ClickFunnels site. Somebody has to build a ClickFunnels site, and they charge just as much, if not more, typically, than a WordPress developer. So to sum it up, there's a big opportunity for end users, individual web designers, and agencies. And this is why I'm so excited about this series we're doing, because if it will look and act and feel exactly like the results on ClickFunnels, but your client completely owns it, that means your client, no matter what you build for them, will never be taken down, will not have to worry about being kicked out of their rental office, because that's theirs. And as long as they can keep it hosted, it's theirs. So does that make sense? All right. So the takeaway I want to show for today's thing is, we talked about a lot of things that we don't have to discuss every time, like, cost of ownership and so forth. But like the mechanics, what I love about the mechanics is, I'll take this one step further. So let's say you as the designer or the developer are working on this page, and you're like, oh, I love this thing that I've done for a client. Well, here's what's amazing. Even as botched up as people kind of claim Gutenberg may be, the neat thing is that I can select and save any or all of this entire page. So if I love this thing, I can copy this entire thing and either archive it in my own pattern library, I can put it on another client's site, or I can even just make another page here. So for example, I just copied that content and I just say add a new page. And when I add a new page, I literally just paste in. And now I've got essentially, the whole thing that I just had on the other page here. So now I can make a, how there's A/B testing, right? Now I can make a B version of this that says, yes, I'm ready to build. Yes, I'm ready to, rock and roll. So the ability to use patterns and blocks in Gutenberg, even in my previous love of Divi and Elementor, is so much more powerful, because you got the components that you need for free from, say, like the Launchflow's pattern library over here. All right. You went and created a site with the same stack of stuff that is universally, looking good, feeling good. You can even make a beautiful sales page just by choosing something and editing it. And then when you make your modifications, you can copy your modifications and reuse them. And all of this is free. Like, once you've owned it, you own it. You're not paying $300 a month to rent it. So for a designer, a developer, an intermediary, you can set up a system where you've got like almost everything your clients could ever want pre-built. And you just like take them through the showroom. Like, you want one of these, you want one of those, and so forth.
Yeah.
So
I think we've had a good start, Spencer. I think we're going to wrap the show up here. We've gone through the basic principles, and during the weeks we will be going into more depth about a very large subject, but a really interesting one. Like I say, in the supporting notes, there'll be a link to Spencer's Launch Club. You'll be able to go there and then give some details, and you can give a funnel that you want us to give you a free review on.
Let's explain this a little bit, because you and I were talking about it. So to be clear, because I want to give them the right URL, I have 3 main properties, but the one Jonathan is referring to is the WP Launch Club. WPLaunchClub.com was something I created that's 99% free stuff that shows most of the concepts we're talking about. What we're talking about doing here is giving everybody the opportunity to I want to know how to do this. I saw this sales funnel over there, or I had a client who had this thing. Can you recreate this using these tools? And submit that as a suggestion so that we have things that we can use as content for this show. Then we will give back as a deliverable for anybody who subscribes for free to the Launch Club newsletter. We will give you back the components ready to copy paste from a particular show. So when you see the various shows that we're creating, what we're hoping to build is a library of examples of, like Bob from Sacramento wrote, here's a cool, clever sales funnel thing. How can I do it in WordPress? And we will have it there. And I think that's right.
Yeah, sure. But also, if you've got an existing funnel and you want us to review it, we'll do that as well. But to get the best value is what Spencer's just suggested. That's a fantastic offer, folks. There'll be a link where you'll be able to go and give us some basic details, and we'll do that for you. Like I say, we'll also be going every week. We'll be looking at various ways of utilizing the tools that we've outlined in this starter episode. We'll be here live at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I think that's around 1 o'clock Eastern. Join us, comment, take advantage of the gracious offer that Spencer's made, which, you know, Spencer knows what he's talking about. I'm really pumped up. It's going to be a great show. Join us next week, folks. We'll see you soon.
Let me, before we say goodbye, sorry. Everything you said is perfect, but I want to just say why I personally think this is a big deal. We're at a crossroads of WordPress for people who make their living or who use it, where there's a lot of things changing and it's causing a lot of anxiety. But I want to be a person, in addition to my normal advocate position for certain things, of demonstrating for the users, for the makers, for the agencies, that there actually is a coherent solution in front of all of us. So there's no like trap here, give me your credit card. WP Launch Club, the sign up for the thing is free, but I am really revealing to you what I'm hoping to do is to bring out all of these, like, well, what about this? What about that? To demonstrate it's all possible if we just kind of get ourselves in alignment. So that's my underlying reason to want to do this.
Yeah, that's great to know, Spencer. But yep, so we'll see you next week, where we'll be delving into everything funnel at the machine funnel. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.